And we have here the Tokarev TT33 pistol. This particular one was made in Romania in 1953. Has the date on it right there, and the manufacturer location right there, made in Romania. It was imported by CAI out of Georgia, is who imported the firearm. One of the things that they did to it when they imported it was they did add a safety right here. Originally, the TT series pistols did not have a safety. There were two different styles that they added to the firearms. One of them was the safety right here. There was other also versions which had a safety back here. Now this particular safety lever, normally there'd be a lever that would come back and you would be able to lift it up to put it on safe. This particular one, sometime in its history, has had that ground off to where that's just now a circle, so it's not really a functional safety at this point. However, that is what that little button looking like thing is right there. There's the trigger. It is a single action only trigger. This uses the Browning swinging link operating assembly is for lockup of the barrel. It is single action. Meaning the trigger, all it would do is fire or release the hammer to fire the weapon. The hammer would have to either be cocked back manually on the first shot, or the operation of the slide when it fires around will automatically cock the hammer back for the follow-up shots. There's other controls. Magazine releases right here. You'd simply push on that to release the magazine. We do have a couple different lanyard loops. There's one right here on the frame, and this one has also a magazine lanyard loop as well. This is the slide stop that would lock the slide back on the last round. That is also the disassembly pin, similar to the Colt 1911. Other features on the pistol: it has the fixed rear sight and fixed front sight. The rear sight is windage adjustable. It can be driven left and right in the slide to adjust for windage. Has an external extractor right there to extract the rounds. This is a little spring lock, and this is what locks the disassembly pin in. Unlike the 1911 that the slide itself holds the pin in, this one is held in by this spring assembly here. This is simply another point for this little spring to slide back and forth on. This little button right here is actually just the other side of that safety that was added. Normally that would not be there. This is the other side of the magazine release. Then of course, other things to note: it has a removable front bushing and spring retainer, similar to a Colt 1911. A lot of this was inspired by those patents and that design. So we'll go ahead and take a closer look. First thing is you want to do is remove the magazine, make sure it is free and clear. As we can see, it is free and clear of all ammunition. Next, go ahead and pull the slide back, and we'll lock it back so we can see in there good. And as we can see, the chamber area is free and clear, so we are clear of all ammunition, so we can go ahead and do a field disassembly of the pistol. So to do that, you would need to slide this spring lock back. Sometimes you can just push it back. There's a little section that comes up. Sometimes you can just push it back with your finger. Usually they're pretty tight, so having something like a brass punch can be used. You can use just a screwdriver or something, but keep in mind, anything that is as hard as the metal itself will scratch it, so you'd want to use a brass punch or something like that if available, to prevent marring the finish. So once that's pulled back, you can simply push this lever up and out to release the slide. Now before I do that, there's a couple different ways that you can disassemble this. The way I do it is I release the recoil spring first. The recoil spring rides under the barrel in this section here, just like in a 1911. And you can release that spring pressure the same way as you would on a 1911 by moving the bushing. Now in this case, to unlock the bushing, you would have to push in on this little pin here, which is kept under pressure by the recoil spring, and then this bushing will swing all the way around 180 degrees, pointing the other way, and then it can be slid off. Now it is under spring tension, so when you push in on this to release this bushing, you will want to keep your thumb over that to keep control of that spring. And you want to keep your thumb over that. Now a lot of times just the outer rim of that bushing will be over it. However, sometimes it won't be, so you want to make sure you keep control of that. Move the bushing all the way up 180 degrees. You can now remove the bushing, and then slowly release the spring pressure. At this point, go ahead and slide out your disassembly pin, and the slide will just come off the frame. So we'll take a look at the frame first. Now, in a departure from the 1911 style, the trigger on this, actually it slides straight back. The operation is very similar to the 1911. However, the nice thing with the Tokarev series is you can remove the hammer assembly right here. So the hammer, this hammer spring, everything else is all housed inside this. It's a very compact unit. There's a lot of spring pressure in there, so resist the urge to try to take that apart. Inside here we have our little feed ramp section right here. Then of course we just have our rails in the frame that the slide rides on. If you look inside, you can see that when you pull the trigger, this little section right here goes back and forth, and that's what actuates the firearm. So when you push it back, that actually will push back on the sear right there, and that will release the hammer to fire the weapon. As far as other, pieces, parts here, we have our ejector right there, which ejects the cartridges as the slide comes back. So really, as far as this section here, this is as far as you really need to disassemble it. You have access to everything to kind of clean it off, wipe it all off. You shouldn't really disassemble this any further for normal field strip and maintenance. Same with the hammer assembly. You really don't want to disassemble this. Like I said, that spring's under a lot of tension in there. So leave this all assembled as is. Take a look at our slide here. Move our recoil spring that comes out just like this. It has a little guide rod here and the front plunger cap, and then the spring itself. Now this can be removed by twisting, off to release the spring tension. However, there's not really any reason to. You get access to clean it all up here. Now, there is a little bit of like a crescent shape right there, and then it's rounded there. So when it goes back into the pistol, this rounded section goes against the slide there, and where it goes in, that's where it goes against where the barrel goes. Hold it like this, maybe you can actually see it. Goes where the barrel goes. So the barrel itself, here's our swinging link. So you'd want to push the link forward, and then you can, lift up the barrel a little bit, put the link forward, and then the barrel just comes out of the front of the frame, or the slide rather. And this has access to clean everything here. Your firing pin, back the firing pin right there, that's what the hammer would strike. Firing pin would of course protrude there to fire the cartridge. There's our extractor, but you at this point have access to everything to clean it up. This is as far as you need to disassemble this for normal maintenance. Reassembly is just the opposite, so go ahead and put our barrel in. Make sure it's engaged in the recesses. You can lift up the link there. Put your slide back in, or your spring rather, back in. And again, make sure that that section where it goes in goes toward the barrel, and where it rounds out, it goes in just like this. Put your hammer group, just slides in to the slide like that. Align the slide and the rails. And then you want to look inside and make sure, see if I can line this up so you can see it. Make sure that the opening goes all the way through, and that the link, see if I can move that back and forth so you can see it. Make sure that the barrel link is lined up. And then once it is, you can just put your pin on and it slides in. Go over to the other side, you can push forward. It's easier to close it than it is to open it. Usually you can just use your finger. If not, there again, use something soft that won't mar it. In the past, you can see something is scratched the finish there pretty good, where someone used something hard to, you know, close it up at some point. Now at this point, go ahead and pull the hammer or pull the trigger to release the hammer up. You want to control that. So it was cocked, so you want to kind of go slow with it. And that will help hold the slide in the right position. Then you can push your spring back into place. There again, you want to keep your finger over that. Once that's in place, put your bushing in, rotate it around, and then lock in place, and it's reassembled. Do a function check. And we are reassembled.